some Q&A.
Yeah, we're going to keep it pumped. Cheers. Beers. Beers.
Cheers.
Ryan.
Blair. That wasn't as good as it was before. I think that might have been too intense.
You got to do it. You know what to do. Cheers, beers, and then your first name. They got it. Ready? Try it.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
I love you, Ryan. I appreciate you.
I love you too.
Yeah,
Ryan means Little King. We're good.
I know. I appreciate it. I was on his radio show, and he's an awesome guy. A lot to learn from him. Go ahead.
So, well, first off, I'm not going to lie. Ryan Blair is my social proof for Youngry. When you talk about raising money or you talk about who's on your team, you always talk about, we have this rock star content editor, we have this rock star marketing director, we have this content team, and we got investors like Ryan Blair. So, not going to lie, that's our social proof. I like it, Ryan Blair, as the Peter Thiel to our Facebook, kind of how Peter Thiel was his first investor. So I just want to personally thank you because I've never really gotten to do that. But for Ryan's book, besides the fact that he's a bestseller already, besides the fact that he's a rock star entrepreneur, I'm going to read you a testimonial that someone gave him. And this is for the people who are into like the more serious business books. Has anyone here heard of John Maxwell? Raise your hand. I want Ryan to understand because he's a big mentor to Ryan Blair. I'm going to read you what John Maxwell said. I'm going to share a quick little story of how I learned about Ryan, and then we'll get into it. John Maxwell, author, speaker, and leadership expert, said, having trouble finding the energy and the purpose have inside you? This book is one story after another on the practical actions you can take to start transforming into the rock star leader you want to be. So if John Maxwell, who many of you raise your hand, vouches for Ryan, then I can tell you that this is the book you need to get. So I haven't shared this to a lot of people, but one thing that Ryan has helped me realize, because I read an advanced copy of this book, is the power of vulnerability. So I created Youngry because I wanted to provide a content platform to empower the young and hungry-minded entrepreneurs, which is obvious. I've talked about it. You could see it when you go outside. But I had a story. Almost 6 years ago, I almost hit bankruptcy with my first business. I was ashamed to ask for people for help. I lived in what you would call the projects in South Santa Ana. It was bad. I witnessed 1 or 2 drive-by shootings. Fortunately, no one got hurt. It was just shooting at the houses. And at that time, one of my partners recommended me his book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain. And when I read that book, I kind of had that Wolverine moment that you can heal, no matter how hard you get stabbed, you can heal back. And he basically said this really simple philosophy that, look, if you got nothing to lose, there's no choice but to go to the top. So I've had a homage, business love for what Ryan Blair has been doing for so long. And when my partner and I decided to create Youngry, it was emphatic that we had to find a way to meet this cat. And the power of hustle, the power of believing in your dreams, the power that if I can meet someone who I look up to, someone who I want to learn from, someone who can inspire me and my team to make Youngry this huge opportunity, then you all can too. So take his advice and meet him after, buy his books, get him to sign it, and talk to him after. And I get nothing out of these book sales other than just being a fan.
Nor do I. Other than giving value.
Speaking the truth. Clap your hands if you love the truth.
Thank you, Ryan. Ash, I didn't know that about that you read Nothing to Lose in a bad state. I write for LinkedIn right now, and I get these stories all the time, and I give my email address in each book, and I read through all the emails. I can't reply to them all, but there's nothing more magical to me to know that something I did several years ago created value. I didn't do it for that. Now we're somehow capturing that value, but I do it without any desire or intention of immediate remuneration, so to speak. Right?
Okay, cool.
I do it because I just want to help. So how can I help you, man?
Well, I'm actually curious, how do you stay grounded? Because you seem like you live this lifestyle. I mean, I'm not going to lie, from an outside perspective, you did a lot of talking about your accomplishments. You talked a lot about living this, always on full cylinders. How do you stay grounded? Is it your son? Is it, what keeps you grounded?
Yeah, well, so a lot of people don't know this. I don't talk much about it, but I was raised Mormon up until my dad disappeared at 13. So I have this spiritual protocol with me. I've since created my own religion, and I have my own spirituality. I'm not here to project that. But I have this belief system that everything I go through and everything I do happens for a reason. And I know that if I don't pay it forward, the deal I made with God, basically, was if he let me, when my mother started dating a multimillionaire real estate entrepreneur, I was 17, and she required him to adopt me, otherwise she wasn't gonna date him. And so I knew that if I screwed up, I was gonna destroy my mother's Cinderella story. So I made a deal with God. I said, this is my way out. I'll spend the rest of my life giving back. And I've pledged 95% of my wealth to charity as a result, because I just know that that's the deal I made. So how do I stay grounded? And I always have, I mean, rock bottom to rock star, I wrote because I was having some rock bottom moments, not just, you know, as a result of, you know, my mother and so forth, but as a result of me doing stupid rock star stuff. Okay. So how do I stay grounded? You know, I think now I get more value out of seeing other people have success than necessarily having my own. And I know that I get my small little piece of whatever you do, and that'll be just fine.
Okay. So I referenced many times that you're a mentor to me. And we talked about this in another interview, but tell us about a lesson or two that one of your business mentors has helped you.
Yeah. So I have a system for this. For one, you know, I'm going to name some names. So Coach John Wooden, does anyone know who he is? All right. So he was a very important mentor to me. Yeah, Pyramid of Success. I'm going to release the interviews that I did with him. So I would interview him. I wasn't doing it. I just would record it. And this is just a random thing. As I was recording my mentorship sessions with John Wooden, Don Yeager got a copy of it. And Don Yeager is an 8 times New York Times bestselling author. And he said to me, Ryan, you need to write a book. And that's how I got published, was Don Yeager. But that said, so John Wooden, Coach Dale Brown, Dan Gilbert of Quicken Loans, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I've had Paul Allen over the house of Microsoft. Tony Hsieh has been a mentor. There's been a bunch of...
But what have they shared with you? What have
you
learned?
got to read the book.
Okay, all right,
No,
all right.
I'm kidding. You know, it's not necessarily that they shared something. It's me observing them, right? Like you guys are observing me. It may not be the words that I give you. It might be that you see a certain perspective that perhaps you didn't. With Paul Allen, when he was at my house, I was having a small little event with a few friends. Now, by show of hands, any of you guys know who Paul Allen is, founder of Microsoft? Right? So in the history of humanity, he's in the top 100 richest people that have ever existed. He's above pharaohs and Alexander the Great in terms of his wealth accumulation to that of the GDP of society. So in my opinion, I was just in the White House the other day, so I've spent time observing the president. I was just with Tim Kaine, and I'm a Republican, but somehow I get invited into these meetings. You know, I won't talk about politics, but I say I just want to win, and not win. I want America to get better, no matter who wins, is what I should say. Okay. But I tell you that. So, what lessons they shared? So John Wooden would tell me things like, "It's not who's right, it's what's right." Right? And every time I'm in a business meeting, and like I hear people attacking shit, or like, I don't agree with that idea. I'm like, dude, you're thinking about who's right, not what's right. What's right is we talk about this idea, not who it came from. I see that happen so often. So John Wooden, Coach Dale Brown told me, he said, he told me that adversity visits us all. Some fall down, the leaders get back up, right? And like, so, you know, Dale Brown has a lot of fundamental wisdom on that. Tony Hsieh told me to, this was when I was about to sell. So I went and spent a lot of time with him. I met him at an economist event that I was giving a speech at, and I bonded with him. And I brought my executive team in to speak with, to spend time with him. He didn't charge me for anything. It was like, you know, he'd tune us up. And he said, I would raise your prices immediately and stop growing. And I was like, are you effing kidding me? I'm about to make $1 billion and you want me to stop growing? Your prices, you need to raise them immediately. And if you've ever met Tony, he doesn't have any emotion in anything he says ever. It's like a robot. You need to raise your prices immediately. You need to stop growing. I should have listened to him right then and there because I grew too fast and the wheels fell off and a lot of things that we did. I went from hiring 50 people to 570 people in 1 year's time. And you cannot contain culture. In fact, I write a lot about that in the book, about now what I would do differently at that level of scale, because I've scaled so fast just to keep the lights on, right? I've lost $25 million in supply chain errors. Product that goes into landfills. I lost another $25 million in my European ventures. Why? Because I didn't think about the currency devaluation issue that our global monetary policy and economic policy might yield. So for those of you that are international entrepreneurs, and I'm mad at myself for that because I was a currency trader, right? Like I should have thought currency. I make products here and ship them there. Well, that's not good if the dollar all of a sudden inverses, from a euro at 162 to $1, which is where I pegged my economic model to where we are today. And the Europeans right now in their social systems and their welfare support systems and their healthcare support systems, they don't really like to work.
What about the Dan Gilbert?
Dan Gilbert is, I'll tell you what I learned from him, and I'm gonna tell you something that's really cool from it. So I was in, before Quicken took off, my office was in Troy, Michigan, and he asked us to move with him to reinvigorate downtown Detroit. My employees said they will quit if we moved to Detroit, right? I should have fired them at that time because what he did there is out of this world. I put $10 million into a 63,000 square foot facility where I could have bought a 6 million square foot facility that would now today be worth 200 million. So what Dan, at Visalis, we have a marketing mantra that we have a trademark that I came up with called "Told You So," and when I sit down with Dan, he just kind of gives me that thing right back to me called "Told You So."
Okay.
So Dan taught me culture's everything. Tony Hsieh has his culture-related initiatives, which are really cool, but it's a little different. Dan Gilbert's culture is a little different and makes a lot more money. Dan makes $1 billion a year in net profit from Quicken, and he owns 100% of his company. That's a pretty good income. Let alone what he does with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the $2 billion to real estate, and all the other initiatives he's involved in. So I'll tell you one other story about Dan that I've never shared. So I go in to meet with him. It wasn't like a good friend. I knew that he was going to give me 15 minutes at best. I was just grateful the guy was going to give me 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
A multi-billionaire, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's got to worry about LeBron, not me, right? You know what I mean? Like, he's got a championship he's focused on. And I sit in the room, and I look on his whiteboard, and it says, "Prepare for Ryan Blair meeting," along with 30 other tasks. And I'm not a big deal. Like, guys, compared to Dan Gilbert, he's preparing for my meeting. He sits down with a folder of all the research that they've done, and he asked me more questions. Like, it was almost like, and it wasn't a matter of like, he wanted to ask me 100 questions about what I did and how I did it so he could learn, right? I didn't actually get to ask many questions that meeting. And I was like, "Hey, I have a question. Can you give me $1 billion?" And I didn't get to that.
So you said something that was really interesting, and by the way, these questions aren't scripted. Ryan has this flow with me where he's like, "I want you to tell me it's transparent." So we're gonna get your guys' questions very soon. You said something about culture, and what I like about this organization. First off, I want to give a shout out to Lee Decker, Ryan Folan for making this event happen.
Thank you,
Tech
guys.
Happy Hour.
And I'm going to use this opportunity to make sure that everyone is social media-ing. What is a hashtag? What is the hashtag you're supposed to use?
RB2RS.
RB2RS. Thank you.
RB2RS. So right now, and actually, I'm going to go back to the
It's
tech.
numerical 2.
We're gonna change this to the hashtag for Ryan. So we want to get some nice love. There are so many great nuggets of information. Get your phones out. The Wi-Fi is the Cove, and it's sandy.toes. Wi-Fi the Cove, sandy.cove.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you guys.
All right,
So
here we go.
One thing that I credit what Lee is doing and what Youngry will be doing and what you have done with Visalis is you talk about culture, you talk about these movements. How many people here, just before I ask your question, are doing something to build a brand? You have a consumer brand, you want to get a following? Raise your hand, because this question's for you guys. Okay, perfect. Ryan, I want to know, what are the elements to build a movement for your brand? It's not markets, dollars.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you what inspired me. So
Yeah.
after the reset, so I sold to Blythe, a publicly traded company, in 2008, 8/4/2008. I had what's called a flex year. It's kind of anybody golf, a mulligan, right? Like you get to redo it. So I wrote this weird term in that the attorneys, that it was an 8 times multiple on my EBITDA, paid out over 4 years. But I was like, but if I didn't hit my EBITDA targets, they canceled the deal. And I was like, well, what if something happens outside my control, right? So I got the mulligan in, and my mulligan was in 2009 when the recession hit. They wrote off the publicly traded company. They wrote off my investment to zero, which is highly embarrassing that a publicly traded company says what they just paid a $32 million valuation for is now worth zero. So the process that I've been through what was your damn question again? I got ADD.
What traits does it take to build a movement? Like
Movement. I got it. Okay, there we go. I'm back. Sorry, guys. I saw like a butterfly moving around or something like that. I do definitely have ADD. I read this article during that time by one of the Wired magazine writers. And you guys, it's called KK.org. It's on KK.org. It's called 1,000 True Fans. Did you guys read that article?
Yeah, people raise their hands.
Read it.
Yeah.
So when I read that, I was like, man, I've got it all wrong. I was trying to build a movement, but I was trying to focus on like everybody, and I would chase revenue. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to be with people. Like I used to wear suits and ties to every business meeting, every meeting period. I'd cover up my tattoos, and I was like, do I really want to spend time with people that don't know who I am authentically, that don't have the same thorns that I do, right? So I said I'm going to focus on getting 1,000 people that are similar to me, similar values. Being a learner is a big thing for me, right? Being analytical, being open to negative feedback. I don't want to say negative, but like I don't want yes people around me, right? So I got 1,000 of those people, and I started with like 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then I created a movement from it. I've signed up 3 million people for the Body by Vi 90-day challenge at an average of $150 a month. Give you an idea. I've done nearly $2 billion in revenue on the subject. So in essence, I did so. Now though, having bought back the company, and I'm in a turnaround situation, which finally I got it to profitability, now I'm right back to that very same philosophy. I want 1,000 true fans. That's it.
So even though you've had...
I have 50,000, 100,000 of them now, but I'm focused on those true fans and only them.
So that's how you stay humble as an entrepreneur. You've had all this success. You're starting with the basics.
Yeah, you gotta always, the fundamentals. Like John Wooden has a quote. He says, you know what the problem is with new books? They stop you from reading the old ones, right? So you know what's the problem with new metrics? Right, they change your focus on the old ones. Yeah. So back to the basics. If you have, and the thesis on KK.org's 1,000 True Fans is if you have 1,000 people that'll pay you $100 a year, you will become a professional musician, athlete, photographer, or whatever, making $100,000 a year. So simple math, if you have 10,000 people paying you $100 a year, you make what? $1 million a year. 100,000 people, but I see all these people right now wanting 1 million fans and even paying money for fake ones.
Yeah.
But that's such a bad, and it's so bad. I'd rather have 10,000 people following me that are my absolute ride or die true fans, like my team members and everybody else that support me in this book, than 1 million.
Last question, and then I want to get some audience questions. What is one thing that you want someone to take away from reading your book?
So I've been testing this content. I wrote Nothing to Lose first with Don Yeager, and then I had to rewrite it when my stepfather passed away, because I had a 10-day experience with him where he was tough love on me. He wrote me out of his will. Like people think I inherited money, and like a lot of the book, like the criticism out there is like, oh, I hit the lottery. I did hit the lottery. I was born in America. Check number 1 for hitting the lottery. Check number 2, God gave me some talents that people misidentified, which made me really, really focus on building them, because I had no other choice. I wasn't good at math. I wasn't good at English. I wasn't good at any of that stuff. So when I did have an opportunity to learn, I took it seriously. So the one thing I'd want people to get out of this and reading the book is that I'm not doing this to make money. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this because I have a purpose. And I wrote it in 2003, and I'll paraphrase it. I published it in Nothing to Lose. In essence, I said my purpose is to utilize the adversities that I've been through to help other people through theirs, which are primarily social, financial, insecurities, and other things. And I was going to measure my influence by being a scary judge of talent. And I was going to leverage that talent to go out there and somehow make change to, at that time I said 1 million people. Now the only change in my purpose is that I want to make change to 1 billion people. And I want people to take away from this book that I'm using my journey to hopefully connect with yours, and hopefully you don't make the same mistakes, or you might be able to take the same actions or adopt my philosophies and principles as I have with my mentors. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you find something good that suits you, your value system, that you can remember, like John Wooden's, it's not who's right, or it's not who's right, it's what's right. Grab that shit and adopt it and put it in action. So my goal is to create a community around Rock Bottom to Rockstar where we help people get from rock bottom. We help acknowledge a new brand of rock stars, people who are like you. You guys right now could be doing anything in your evening, right? But you're here right now learning, and I imagine most of you are going to take that learning, apply it, and you're going to make something better in this world because of it. So I wrote this book for that. And I want you to not only take away that I wrote it for that, but I want you to take action because of that. And then I want to hear your voice. And my next book is already, I got a big publishing deal, blah, blah, blah. My next book is going to be your stories, not my stories. So I plan to have Rock Bottom to Rockstar become a franchise. Much like Chicken Soup for the Soul, but with a little more F-bombs.
Give that a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. You are his next book.
Thank you.
You are his next book.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, let's get 1 to 2 quick questions, and then Ryan's going to be here to do book signings. We're going to say thanks, of course, before that. I'm going to real quick though, because we want to respect the time for the organizers. Real quick questions. You, because you were always giving me good advice over there. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. Wait for Dawn. Wait. Here we go.
Quick question, not a speech.
Yeah, quick question. Thanks a lot for talking. The thing about writing books, or writing in general, I've always thought about blogging or writing books, but I'm too busy trying to think up my own ideas. So,
yeah, advice for you.
Repeat the question as part of your answer, please.
Yeah, writing a book. A lot of people have the goal to write a book. For one, I'm a writer. Like that's how I express myself. I wrote to a judge in juvenile hall begging for leniency, and he said, Ryan, you should be writing in college, not in prison, and that's how I avoided going to prison. So writing is my art. I highly suggest, is it your art? If it's an art of yours, if it's something within you that helps give you a creative release, it's a therapy, then do it, then write. But if it's not, channel that desire to make an impact or to communicate toward perhaps another medium. But don't try to utilize mediums that aren't necessarily the things that you love. Like
Perfect.
Some people, like Andrew Sandler, that guy is an award-winning, he's won VMAs. He's my protege. I discovered him at an after party at my house in 2010. He's since gone on to direct feature films, blah, 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 right? His art is directing behind that camera, right? He's not gonna write a book. If he told me, Ryan, I wanna write a book, I'd say don't, right? Because his art is that film. So find out what your art is, but every one of us as humans is artists. Some of us as artists, my art, like right now, this might be artful to some of you, but like I'm at my best, man, when I'm sitting there inside of a school teaching. So like I'm at West Point right now, and I've been nominated as a fellow for their Leadership Science Academy. I love doing that shit, man. That's what I love, right? But I'm not trying to learn how to play the violin. So if writing is your art, then you gotta master it. Last thing, if it is your art, you gotta do it at least 15 minutes per day. Rain, sleep, no sleep, whatever, snow. You write 15 minutes per day about anything and everything because you have to do it daily.
Last question, speaking of art, Lee, do you have a final question for Ryan Blair, for the crowd?
Lee, are you ready?
what time do you wake up in the morning?
Yeah, I never sleep, man. It's different. So every morning is completely different. I look at my time holistically. I don't give a shit when I wake up. I've designed everything around my life to put me in my strength zone at my highest energy. Now, I am forced, however, to wake up or to stay up when I have to fly to Europe. I've had speaking tours all over Europe and had to push myself to the ultimate limits. And I'm going to use this in context of your question about writing. I'm at my best writing-wise around 4 to 5 a.m. So I wake up around then, and I'll write from, say, 4 to 9 on a good day, because my offices are not calling me. All the employees are starting to show up around 8, so they don't want to deal with me. I get all my writing done. I get ahead of my day, and then I attack it. Now, in the days where I can't do that, because let's say, time clock adjusted, I've technically, been up till 4 a.m., then I get sleeping done, and I write at night. So I no longer try to have a set schedule, because I don't have control over whether or not I'm going to get a call from my European office, or, because they're 9 hours ahead of me right now. So these guys are waking up emailing me as I'm trying to go to sleep. And sometimes they need an answer, and even in my sleep, they might need an answer, right?
Perfect.
So, but I do have a ritual, and I do have a regimen, and the simple ritual is this. I need 3 hours of me time before I deal with anyone else. That includes my workout, that includes my writing at a minimum, that includes meditation Ash is giving me some good
Yep.
meditational advice. My best days, I've got 3 hours of time just to me before I get hit with whatever I got to get hit with.
Okay. Let's give it up for
Thank you
Ryan,
for the
guys.
question. God bless you guys. Thank you.
All
Can I say one
right.
thing? Can I say one quick thing?
What now?
Can I say one quick thing?
Almost after I say one more thing. So I've got this really cool project, the City of Speakers, and I want to know your voice. I want to know what is your voice, because it's so arbitrary, it's amazing, and you have so many things you're going to say. So I'm going to put you under the bus, and I'm going to say, Ryan Blair, what is your voice?
It's really deep.
I love
What do you
it.
mean, what's my voice?
What is your voice? Like, if you were to sum everything up, like, what is you? What is going on?
I'm a commoner, man. I came from dirt, and I'm going to wind up in dirt. And I just like to teach people how I got to where I am along the way.
So your voice is teaching.
My voice is teaching from the perspective of a person who's got it the hard way.
I love it. I love it. Yes, clap for that. And then, Ash, you got one more thing.
I got one quick thing to say. So I don't know if you noticed, but you might be wondering, okay, Youngry's doing a fundraising event, and this is our finale event for our tour. Why haven't I really talked about it? I haven't really talked about it, and it's for a reason. I want to leave people here with a quick surprise. If anybody here decides to buy Ryan's book or buy one of our Youngry shirts, they're only $25. Holler, look at me. I know I look fly. If you buy one of those, I'm going to give you a piece of ownership in Youngry. This is not related to our crowdfunding campaign, so I can do this legally, but I'm going to give you a piece in Youngry. Like, you will get the equivalent of something in Youngry if you leave your email with either the book side or that side. And I got this inspired by Jet.com. I don't know if you know about Jet.com, but they got bought by Walmart for a couple billion, I think. But they did something similar, and I'm inspired by that. When they were first launching, they said, if you buy or if you help promote X amount of people to Jet.com, they are going to give you X amount of shares. Some people who got 600 supporters made couple million and up. And I'm not saying your share is going to be worth that much, but I'm saying, or maybe, but you never know.
Mine are going to be with them.
Yeah, holler for sure. But
Youngry, my shares in Youngry. Guys, take this offer, because I promise you this, we're leaning in.
Yeah, I'm serious. Buy a shirt and or buy a book. And if you can only buy one, buy the book. You will get a share in Youngry. You have my word. You have it on camera. You have it here. This is only for this event, because that's how much the Orange County entrepreneur scene means to me. I built my teeth out here. I failed here. I lived in the projects out here. I got my success out here. And now I'm taking it to the next level with Youngry out here. So take this offer, guys, because this will not happen in any other Youngry. This has never happened in a Youngry event. And people who are at a Youngry event are going to freaking strangle me after. It's all good. But I want you all to support Ryan's book and buy the Youngry shirts. That's all I got.
Shit, yeah.
Thank you, Ash. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, cheers!
Cheers.
Ryan
Blair.
All right.